to the post-game show, somber post-game show somewhat. Sponsored by our friends over at Flight by Yingling. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Brian Robison and Rod Babers. I tell you what, Longhorns go down 28-14, but this game was won and lost on the goal line in the fourth quarter. Texas had first and goal from the 1. Jarrett Gibson went up the gut for no gain, and then Steve Sarkeesian made a decision to go wide with Trey Wisner for a 7-yard loss. One incompletion later, a touchdown fumble return on a sack by Jack Sawyer. Touchdown, 83-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Guys, it was a good game overall, I would say. Texas certainly wasn't blown out, but my goodness, Texas let one slip from its fingers. Brian, I'll start with you. What'd you think of the game, bud?
Man, I thought it started off really slow. Obviously, Ohio State was kind of being the more physical team from the start, and then you kind of saw the tide turn. I think Texas really started to kind of lean on them a little bit. Saw our guys up front really begin to match their physicality, if not become more physical than them. Just unfortunately, down the stretch, Ohio State made the plays it needed to make. And we'll get more into that last fourth quarter stand there, but yeah, that was kind of the call of the game, and not in a positive manner.
Yeah, Rod B, tough loss for the Longhorns on Friday night here. What were your thoughts, bud?
I thought the defense, once again showed up. I thought the defense played a really good game considering the opponent. Right, this is the most explosive offense arguably in the country in the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. And yet the Texas defense, after they settled down, as Brian mentioned initially, get that touchdown drive, they really were able to, neutralize and stall the Ohio State offense. And then they gave up the 75-yard screen play right before the half. That was, I think, a bit of a killer. But offensively, I think is where Texas really disappointed me in this game. You really don't deserve to win a game if you can't score from the 1-yard line. I mean, that's just, I always felt like that about football. You can't score from the 1. They got down to the 2. I mean, they had first and goal from the 2. They went right in. First and goal from the 1. Man, if somebody's telling you we got first and goal from the 1 to keep your season alive, to play for a national title, I can't even imagine not getting that done. And Texas didn't get it done. And I just surprised. I was flabbergasted. And I did not like the play calls from Sark. I'll be straight up and honest about that. That was Sark would have had a little bit more, giving you more of a schematic advantage in that situation if you needed it. I thought the O-line, the big humans, will be able to impose their will a little bit more in that moment. That was not the case. So that's what happened, right? Ohio State got down to the 2-yard line, first and goal, popped it right in. Texas got down to the 1-yard line, couldn't get in. You lose.
Gotta ask you, it goes back to preseason. What happens if you have Cedric Baxter in that position as opposed to Baxter and Jaden?
What about Arch Manning? Was Arch hurt?
I kind of think that he may have gotten dinged on that one he had. Never came back in.
Okay, so you think so too, right, Bob? I was like, because why did we see him? I mean, he seemed to be pretty automatic in them situations lately, short yardage and stuff like that. Plus, the +1 in the running game always gives the defense more gaps and players to account for in the running game. So I don't know. Maybe he was hurt in that situation, but still, no excuse for not scoring on the 1-yard line, guys. You're in an elite program. Come on now.
Yeah, it happened though. I just wonder why they didn't go right. They always went left there with Hudson and/or DJ Campbell and Cam Williams. But look, all in all, there were other mistakes in that game that Texas had. Rod, you mentioned that 75-yard screen pass to close out the first half. It reminded me of something that happened against USC when Ronald Jones took a pass at the half, right before the halftime, about a 50-yarder, caught it on about the 25 and took it in one time, I guess, back when Herman was first coaching in the Coliseum. But that was just a tough game or tough play. I will say this. Texas played with a lot of fight tonight. It came up short, okay, but they came out and, in my opinion, they basically kept an Ohio State offense that had a ton of playmakers at bay. Pete Kwiatkowski's defense held Ohio State to 21 points. I will say this: the non-holding call. There was one holding call all game. Non-holding call on a conversion on 3rd and 11 against Colin Simmons looms large as well. There are a number of different plays in here that we can talk about. Matt, let's look at the final stats if you don't mind, and we'll get those up there. Texas finishes with 341 yards. Take away a couple that big pass play from Ohio State. Texas probably leads that. Texas had 21 first downs to 18. They moved the ball okay, but tell you what, they didn't move it well enough to only score 14 points in there at the end. Let's take a look at the offense. Rod, why don't you tell us what you saw on offense real quick, bud?
Well, I didn't see, a lot of things that surprised me. I didn't think Texas would be able to run the ball versus Ohio State, and they really couldn't run the ball. They did find a little room inside just to stay balanced. But I thought where they could have the most, most return on their investment, if you will, or the most benefit would be kind of attacking them through the air, isolating some of those matchups. My man CJ Vogel brought up that they're very handsy and aggressive in the secondary. You can get some penalties. That came to fruition. The linebackers could be exploited in coverage. That came to fruition with Jaden Blue coming out backfield, multiple wheel routes for touchdowns, one for a touchdown, And so I think for Texas, I think they should have been a little bit more aggressive with some of their concepts on offense. I thought they should have tried to attack the corners a little bit more. They did go a lot of empty, which I liked. And it didn't work as well, I think, as Sark would have thought. I thought she went more pony package. I think your two-back sets would have worked a little bit more. It's tough when Matthew Golden goes down, though, and that's your leading receiver and your main kind of catalyst in the passing game. When he went out for a little while, I know that stalled the offense. So I just didn't think the play calling or play design gave you that much of a schematic advantage. And I think you needed that. There's no doubt you needed that against Ohio State.
Brian, what'd you think of the Texas offense on earlier tonight?
Man, honestly, I thought the interior guys played really well up front. I think you're going to look at a lot of times, and a lot of the pressure and things like that came off the edge. I thought the three interior guys actually played pretty well up front. The edge guys, they had their handfuls with those guys. We knew that was going to be a battle coming into the game. So the edge, I think Ohio State won that battle a little bit. Especially with the play late in the game, but there was pressure coming off the edge. And part of that too is Quinn holding the ball a little long. Now you could sit here and you could blame it all on Quinn, but hey, receivers got to get open, things like that. There was a couple plays that Quinn missed, did not see the receivers come open. It's the same stuff that we've been talking about, right? But we knew coming into this game, I knew this was going to be a defensive battle. The team that made the less mistakes was going to be the team that won this game. And I think overall, Ohio State made less mistakes than our offense did. The game ended with a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm like Rod. The play call was a mistake down there. You've got it 1st and goal at the 1. I don't care if you don't make it the first time. Line up and run it at them again. You got to make 1 yard. Are you telling me you don't have confidence in your front 5 guys to get 1 yard of push in 4 plays? Like, I just don't understand that. Like, and to me, it's like, hey, if we got to do it 4 times, we're gonna do it 4 times, but we're gonna get a yard out of this, right? That's another situation where you did it in the game when it was a 4th and 1, you needed a yard. You put Arch in there. Why not do it down there? I don't understand the toss play on that. And listen, here's the deal. It's always a fine line, right? If they run the toss and they score a touchdown, we're not talking about this right now. Oh, what a great play call, right? But it wasn't. And the problem with that is I still say this. If you're down there and you think you got the more physical bunch, you're telling me you don't believe that your guys can get 1 yard and run it right at them. And that was when they had success against this Ohio State team, was when they just said, hey, we're going to line up and run at you. That was when they had success. And that's why I say the interior guys were important in this game. But overall, you're talking turnover. They lost the turnover battle. other than that, the stats were pretty even, other than the red zone, losing there in the red zone. So I thought the offense didn't play their best ball, but I thought if you take away the mistakes, they played good enough to be in this ball game, and that's where they were. It was just unfortunately they made more mistakes than Ohio State did.
I'll tell you one of the stats that stands out to me is failure on third down. Texas finished 5 of 15 on third down, but that's misleading because 4 of those first downs came on one single drive on third down. The really nice toss play by Quinn under duress. That they were 4 for 4 on third down on that drive, right? But they were 1 of 11 otherwise. Ohio State's defense flummoxed Texas on third down, gave them problems on fourth down as well in that game. So, look, Texas played well enough to win in certain ways and not well enough to win in others. The first quarter really, I felt like Quinn didn't have a handle on the situation. He was getting self-sacked a little bit.
Yes.
As the game got going, it felt like he got into it a little bit more. Obviously, some problems there at the very end, but that was in an effort to try to win the game. So I'm not going to, or to try to stay in the game somehow. You can't really fault him for that, but a slow start that way. But otherwise, I felt like Texas, to y'all's point, played well enough. I'll pitch it to you now on the defense. I thought Texas played overall well enough to win the game as well. Brian, what'd you think of the D?
Man, I thought the defense played extremely well, especially with the offensive weapons that they had at wide receiver. Clearly, their motive was to take Jeremiah Smith out of the game, which why not? Why not try to take him out of the game? I thought after the first quarter, I thought they really settled in and they got to playing what is their type of ball, which is being physical, getting after guys. The pass rush really started to come into effect there after the first quarter, and you started seeing them have more and more success up front. Man, I just think I think Ohio State had a plethora of weapons. We say it about the Texas offense all the time, but I mean, it just seems like you look at these playoffs and Ohio State has that same plethora of weapons at wide receiver. You got number 2, you got number 4, you got number 17 who showed up big time for them tonight. So, and then you got the 2 running backs. So for me, we knew this was going to be a battle, and it was a battle, and it was a battle till the end. But overall, man, I thought the defense played extremely well enough to win this game, gave the offense opportunities to score, and we just didn't finish drives. Like you said, third downs was the big deal. And you leave your defense on the field, I mean, that much. I mean, it's a hard road to hold, but Texas was able to do it and show us why they were one of the best defenses in the country this year.
Rod, what'd you think of the defensive performance?
No, I thought defense was good. I love that they took away Jeremiah Smith. I mean, to me, that was I think probably one of their number one priorities was take away Jeremiah Smith, force them to have to beat you with other guys, which is what they did. And, I other than the 75-yard touchdown before the half, because I know they gave the touchdown early, and then that was just one great drive by Ohio State late in the game. I mean, it's great adjustments by them. They started rolling the pocket, moving the pocket with Will Howard, getting him out of the pocket a little bit. The run game, kind of found its groove a little bit against Texas. So I thought they made some decent adjustments. But man, taking away Jeremiah Smith, guys, I think that really forced their offense to have to drive down the field and put together sustained, efficient drives. And against Texas, that is really hard to do without some explosive play of some kind. And they still end up getting, I think, that Will Howard run, that quarterback run, which was a great play call by them, by the way, the quarterback power. It was the first time they had run quarterback design run all game. They've been saving that. They saved it for Texas in that situation. So I thought they just made some really good adjustments down the stretch. But your defense gave you a chance to win that game, period. Yeah. Against one of the most explosive offenses in the country. And the truth is, I think ultimately, Colin Simmons, by the way, that dude is he's a beast. He is just such a disruptor out there. And I thought they started playing him more. And he started making more of an impact later on in the game, too, just putting pressure on Will Howard and getting him uncomfortable out there in the pocket. So I liked what the D did, man. 21 points. against his Ohio State offense, I thought that's limiting them well enough where you gave your offense a chance to win, and the offense had a chance to win. They were on the 1 yard line going in with like 2 minutes left, and they couldn't punch it in.
Yeah, and I think for me too, the only thing that bothered me about the screen is Rod, you know this from years of football. Everybody talks about first play, screen draw. So if they're not preaching that, that's an issue. But you should know screen is a drive starter, or screen is a go-to when you need to see, hey, can we get down far enough to try to score, right? That is coming out. And then the other thing is, and I didn't see it initially, but when they showed the wide angle, there was some loafing going on there, okay? There was 3 or 4 guys. Michael Taft ran right by 3 guys. And that to me is a point of you letting your guard down, thinking, hey, that they're just gonna submit and they're gonna go into halftime. No, you cannot count on that. This is every game from 2 weeks ago on out is the national championship, because if you lose, your season's done. Ain't nobody just going to step out of bounds and go into halftime. So that's my only deal with the defense tonight. Other than that, I thought the defense played extremely well.
No, and that, to your point, that call was so bad. You dropped Colin Simmons. And Colin Simmons, as Muschamp said, thoroughbred shouldn't go backwards. He should be rushing.
Yeah.
And then delayed blitz from Gilbo. I don't know if he was late or if it was supposed to be delayed blitz, but that was
Gilbo should have seen it.
Yeah. It was, exactly. Like that's a great point. He was coming from some depth. He probably should have been able to stop himself and go, well, I know I'm supposed to blitz, but there's no point in me blitzing right now.
Yeah, just don't look right.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah. All right, guys, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. Each and every post-game show has been sponsored all year long by Flight, the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 grams of carbs. Flight's an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling, thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends over at Faust Distributing. Tough loss tonight for the Longhorns. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers and Brian Robison. Guys, we look at tonight's game. Longhorns now finished 13-3 on the season. Ohio State will go on to play Notre Dame in the national championship a week from Monday. Texas, though, 13-3. Overall, this was a great season for the Longhorns, finishing in national semifinal. I know there are going to be hurt feelings and woulda, coulda, shoulda about this team this year. But all in all, you take this season over and over again. Texas got to get more the next go-round. What did y'all think of this as the capper to the season, Rod, as the final straw, I guess?
Oh man. Hard not to be disappointed. I mean, it's such a great year, but this is, Sarkeesian said it too. And so I'll just use his word. The standard is the standard. The standard is the standard. And so there are times like these when, I think Longhorn fans struggle with appreciation for what the Longhorn team did this year, which was great. They made it to the Final Four just like they did last year, back-to-back years. So the program is headed in the right place, and Sarkeesian done a great job building the roster, making it a championship caliber roster. But then you recognize there's a lot of steps that still need to there's a lot that still needs to be built on, and there's a lot that Texas still needs to accomplish before they become a national championship caliber team. And I think one of them is we got to be able to impose our will in the run game and run downhill on teams, right? That's part of it. I think that's the lesson. We've talked about this before too, right? Sark is a brilliant offensive mind. I know some people are going to be mad at me calling him that right now, but he is considered by most people one of the most prominent offensive minds in football. And yet, when Texas has remember that 4th and 2 against Georgia? And even against Arizona State, there was a 3rd and short when he did an ending around with Silas Bowden.
Yep.
Ending around with Ryan Wingo against Georgia. Now, there were brilliant, beautiful play calls. And then there's the snap between the legs. So that was a sharp yardage 1 2. Beautiful little play calls. Great play design, very exotic, elaborate. Why, though? Because Sark knows they can't run downhill very well. He's like, no, I'd rather run an ending around and a reverse rather than just run right downhill and get these 2 yards. Even though I got one of the biggest offensive lines in the country. I think he knows it too. And in that moment, and what you're talking about, Brian, that insecurity came back to haunt him on the goal line.
Yeah.
Instead of running right down, he's like, nah, I can't. I don't trust him running downhill. I don't. Let's try to get to the outside. Let's try to get to the edge. And if it works, it's a brilliant play call, but it didn't. And I think ultimately that's enough. Like, that's just a representative of another step that Texas needs to take as a program. And I think there are a few of those. It's not many. I mean, they're in the Final Four. They on the 1 yard line, right, with 3 minutes left, getting ready to tie it up with Ohio State, potentially to take it into a fourth quarter game-winning drive or into overtime, right? So they're not far. They're not far at all. But I think Sark's got to grow too. So not only there's still some roster construction that needs to be done, but Sark as a coach has got to evolve and grow. Yeah. I think that was also on display today too. And that's fine, by the way. Because if you look at the growth that he has already displayed since he's been here, he's well on his way to becoming, the upper echelon coaches of college football. But is there work to be done for him? Yeah, of course there is. Trust me, I'm very critical of that play calling down there on the goal line. And honestly, some of the lack of innovative, creative, schematic advantages in this game overall offensively. I watch a lot of Texas film. I can't tell you a tendency breakout I saw.
Yeah. Brian, what did you think of Texas and where they're at now? I mean, look, the season as a whole, obviously a success at some level, but this one stings, right? What do you think?
Man, I think for me, it stings, obviously. You hate to lose a game that way. You hate for it to be close and everything else. But the blessing is it was close. There was a lot of people that was worried about this game being a blowout. I mean, there really was. So I honestly can't say anything bad about this season. Yeah, it did not end up in a national championship game. It's not going to end up with a national championship trophy. But I think people forget where this team was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this wasn't even a bowl team. And then next thing you know, Sark is building a team that looks totally different, bigger up front, stronger, faster, more explosive, and they go to the 14 playoff. Okay, they lose to a Washington team that very highly talented, had an opportunity to win that ball game. Mm-hmm. And then they go into a 12-team playoff. They win 2 rounds. They run into a buzzsaw of what is Ohio State right now. They're the hottest team in the country right now. And they had their opportunities to win. I mean, this is a national championship caliber football team. It's just not going to go down on paper that way. And I think overall, it goes back to what Rod said. The standard is the standard. And unfortunately for Texas fans, the standard is national championships. That's what we want. That's what we strive for. And that's what we're going for every single year. But you can't, sometimes you got to sit back and you got to enjoy it. You got to remember that there was 15 years of pain for this Texas football program. And your first year in the SEC, nobody gave you a shot. And you were the last SEC team that was standing. So guess what? Welcome to the SEC. It just means more. All that, I don't want to hear none of it. Anybody from the SEC want to talk smack to me? Talk all you want. We were the last one standing. And guess what? Maybe the SEC isn't the SEC anymore because right now the Big Ten is running the show. Okay, let's get that straight. After watching all the bowl games this year, Big Ten is greater than the SEC. But Texas was the last one standing out of the SEC. And this is a team that had their opportunities. And like Rod said, Sark has grown this football team so much in such a short amount of time. Somebody was going to lag behind. And I think Sark is the guy that now has to grow with that team and understand what he has in front of him and understand where his confidence has to lie. You got to have confidence in those guys that you brought in to be the big molly guys up front. You got to have the confidence in them that they can get it done. Look them in the eyes and say, hey, can you get it done for me? Yes, sir, coach, I can. Believe in them.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think this is going to go down. The first and goal for the 1 Is one of those things that people are going to remember for quite a while. At the same time, look, we have to always keep it in perspective. I was texting with somebody during the game, and they're just all upset about first and goal from the one. I'm going, yeah, but look, I mean, what do you want? How we got here? At some point, you got to Rod's point, it's got to be it would be great if Sark could won that game tonight. No doubt. If Texas would have won it, what have you. But there's a process. And the fact that he's been in 2 national semifinals in back-to-back years, is that the be-all, end-all? No, it's not. Is it pretty damn good? Yeah. And is it better than what it's been compared to around here for quite a while? Hell yeah.
Bobby, who's probably listening to some of this blowback from Longhorn fans and laughing about it is Mac Brown, who's back, and also because I always said Mac became a prisoner of his own excellence, and he realized once you keep pushing the standard, they won't accept anything less.
Yeah.
So he ain't gonna get the love for, hey, you made it to a second Final Four. It's like, no, you should have been able to score from the one. That's how you go here all off season. You should have been able to score from the one because that's the standard. So he's now, congratulations, Sark. You're a great coach. You're a prisoner of your own excellence. Now, win it all. That's unfortunately. Texas.
I mean, look at the guy on the other sideline tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago they were saying maybe we should fire him.
Amen, brother.
You know, it's when you get these programs that are used to playing at this level all the time, as soon as you don't get that, you're on the chopping block, man. And unfortunately, I hate that it's that way because I think you can look at coaches on some of these programs that the firing of them was premature and there was a little bit of hard times after that, but that is the standard. That's what they expect. And you know what? There's a reason why those programs are there so often too.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep. Sometimes you just gotta learn. And we'll see what happens. My question on this too is at the same time is, again, what do you do if Cedric Baxter's back there? If you have a different type of running back that's not a true freshman like Jarrett Gibson is, do you try 4 power plays in a row as opposed to see one freshman not do much on the first run and then have to decide what was right there? Sarkeesian, by the way, is in his post-game presser right now. Here's what Sark had to say about the first down and second down play calls in the red zone.
The first 2 plays, we threw the ball into the end zone. We got back-to-back PIs. And when we got down to the one, we went to a heavy package, which is Jarrett's package. And so we ran it, and we didn't get much movement at all. And we had a plan to try to get the ball on the edge. When we got down there, they went to big people. I can't quite tell. It was on the far side of where it got leaky. But that, it's one of those plays. If you block it all right, you get in the end zone, and we didn't, and we lose, quite a bit of yardage. And at that point, you're kind of stuck behind the 8 ball because we knew we were 4-down territory because of the score of the game. And I was okay even if we didn't score. Not that I didn't want to score, but thinking, all right, they're going to have to be backed up, and we'll probably get one more possession with good field position. The last thing you think is that the sack, and this is going to bounce right to the guy who's going to run for a touchdown. So it's unfortunate. That was the circumstances because it was a really nice drive by the offense to get all the way down there and first to goal on the one, and we don't score. Quite frankly, you probably don't deserve to win that way.
Hey, somebody said that when we first came on. You can't score. Dude, I've said that for years. You can't score on the one. You don't deserve to win a football game. It's football, guys. It's moving another human being against their will. You're in the 1 yard line. Go look outside and go measure a yard. Go measure a yard. You got 300-pound plus human beings on that line. You got 5 of them, right? 1,500 pounds. Like, you can't push somebody out of the way for a yard. You don't deserve to win. Period.
And I agree with that. And listen, the one thing I respect about Sark is when he gets in his pressers, he just tells it like it is. And I love that about him. But I still say this. You ran a toss play from the 1 yard line.
That was bad.
Okay, yeah. If you block it up right, it's a touchdown. Okay? But here's an old saying: high risk, high reward. That is one of those plays that is a high risk play.
That's true.
And you are taking an opportunity to either score or lose 7 yards. And that to me is too much of a risk whenever you could get the same accomplishment. Hey, if you ran the ball at them 4 times and you didn't get it, they're going to be stuck at the 2-yard line, 3-yard line, 1-yard line. If you lose 7 yards on a downhill run, y'all might as well just kneel it out and go home. But if you're running a downhill run, you're going to have them really backed up. Now you got an opportunity to possibly get a safety, or you make them punt from the end zone. Okay? So now you give yourself an opportunity to win the ball game on the last drive. So I just think that play call was just way too risky for me. But hey, props to Sark for just telling it how it is. And I mean, it is what it is now, guys. I mean, it happened. It's done.
Yeah, it is. Texas loses 28-14. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Brian Robison and Rod Babers. I got to ask y'all about something else. What y'all think of the refereeing tonight? ACC crew. Why boo, Brian? Why do you think boo?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I thought the second half was better, but I think the first half, there was some crucial missed holding calls on the receivers. One was egregious. I mean, right in front of the guy, like dang near tore his freaking jersey off, right? That was a situation. Do what?
Wingo one?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was bad. I thought there was a little tug on the very next play. That could have been a first down, extended a drive that ended up stalling out. There was a couple more that I saw. The one on Colin Simmons was bad on a third down. That was bad. I mean, that's a game-changing one right there. Yeah. And so for me, I didn't think it was horrible, but I think there was way more missed calls against Texas than there was against Ohio State. But I don't think that cost us the game either. Like I really don't. Maybe the Colin Simmons one, but the ones in the first half, you had opportunities after that to make up for it.
Yeah.
What did you think, Rod? You agree pretty much. I see you kind of nodding your head with Brian.
No, I remember the Colin Simmons one he's talking about. Literally, the guy, he held him initially, and Colin Simmons like chops his hands down, and then he grabs him from the back as Colin Simmons starts to beat him. He grabs him again, and you can tell his coach was told him, man, just hold that dude. That dude's he's too fast off the line. Hey, if you got to hold him, hold him. And you know what? It worked because they didn't call it. So yeah, there were some calls. I mean, I haven't rewatched it, but I guarantee if I went and rewatched it, I guarantee there was some calls that they missed probably on the other side. I thought they started calling it. Texas started getting more favorable calls maybe in the second half and in the first half. Because I don't know if Sark did complain, but I know, in the first half, he was pretty irate over some of the non-calls. To Brian's point, like, hey, I remember that Ryan Wingo one. He was really upset about that one. Like, hey, where's my holding call? So I think maybe, that's your job, by the way, as a coach. Maybe that had an influence on the officials. They're like, hey, man, we got to start, calling some of these calls. We actually missed some pretty obvious ones. But Mac Brown always told me, coaches coach, players play, officials officiate. You're too worried about too much about the officials, man. That's all you'll talk about. This game got lost because you didn't score from the 1-yard line. And that's why you lost the game. You can don't put that on repeat, Rod. Don't put that on repeat, man. I'm sorry. That's what I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it. It's true. And like Brian says, your coach called the toss on the 1-yard line. Like that's also a big reason why you lost it. It's okay, but that's the reality of it. That's why you lost this game. Don't blame the refs. And some of y'all want to blame Quinn and all that. That's cool. Y'all can blame Quinn if you want to, but that's misplaced. You on the 1-yard line. Had a chance to win a football game. No doubt. Yeah. And look, I thought it was going to come down to a 2-minute drill by Ohio State, right? Yeah. That's what it looked like. Against the Texas defense, I'll take that. I'll take it every day. That's what I was thinking too. Is like, and Will Howard, even though he only threw one interception on the day,
he had 3 or 4 balls that were in harm's way, in my opinion. I think he made if the chips were on the line, he may do another one, in my opinion. Juan Garza, let's get to a couple of super chat questions and comments. This reminds me of Michigan, who lost twice in the semis and third time won it all. Bobby Petronic, Steve and Pete let us down when the chips were down. Situational football needs to be a focus of the off season for the staff. On to the Arch era. Scott Sturgeon, you guys made this season so special. We'll be back. Love this channel so much. Let me ask you this one, and thank you all for the super chats. From Chris Jackson, does the loss and the frustration of the fan base run Sark off to the NFL? What do y'all think of that? I mean, y'all are both former. Y'all seen your time in the NFL. You think Sark, Rod, you've said he has some designs eventually on the NFL, but maybe not right now. Brian, you guys, what do y'all think here?
I think I think Sark is going to stay here until he wins a national title. I think he knows he's close. He's made to the Final Four 2 years in a row. He's got Arch, first family of football, right? And so maybe after your Arch era, if they can't get it done during the Arch era, and I can tell you, if he ain't win a national title during the Arch era, Longhorn fans gonna be so frustrated they probably will run him off. So it's possible. But I think you got the Arch era because I think he knows he's really close to winning a national title. I mean, you're on the 1 yard line to tie this thing up. So I think the good news is, I think Sark's gonna be here until he wins the national title. Bad news is when he wins the national title, I do think he may look at the NFL and go, yeah, I wanna do what Pete Carroll did. I want to be a ball coach that can win it at the college level and the pro level. I think that's just my personal opinion. I haven't talked to anybody or anything like that.
Here's another one. This one from Larry Bradley. The journey begins now. OSU is the next game we play, and the Arch Manning era starts. Will Howard will be gone as well. Let's see what Texas has in store for Jeremiah Smith next time. My guess is he's going to do better than 1 catch for 3 yards. Next time the Longhorns play. That was of all the things that y'all, I mean, look, that Rod, that's mind blown. That's unbelievable.
It is.
What we heard about this guy going in. Now, obviously, Texas and PK had a great plan for that, right?
Yeah.
But Brian, what did you think of holding Jeremiah Smith to 1 catch for 3 yards?
I mean, obviously it was an emphasis. I mean, you look at what Jeremiah Smith has done in the first 2 games of the college football playoff. I mean, you had to do something. I don't care if it was double coverage. I don't care if it was having a safety lurk over the top, having a robber. I mean, you do whatever you can to stop a guy like that because that guy is a game wrecker. And obviously that was the emphasis. Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, 1 catch, 3 yards, even doing all that, you really expected him at some point in the ball game to get momentum going, and Texas was just able to kind of take that away and not allow him to win the game for him.
Yeah, it looked like because on the interception that Benda got, they were targeting Jeremiah Smith. Maybe he was dropping right underneath him for that curl route. Yep. First sack, he's waiting for Smith to clear open deep. End up getting him sacked. And I want to say the other sack, he's looking at least to that side of the field. But whenever they tried to get the ball to him, it almost put their offense in harm's way because Texas was deliberately taking him away and saying, you're going to beat us with anybody else. And they did, but I did not think they would hold that dude to 1 catch for 3 yards, whatever it was. That's phenomenal. That may be the best player offensively in college football next season, people are saying.
This from Katie Riley. Great job getting Jeremiah Smith out of the game. Needed a better game day caller, play caller. There's some questions here. People saying, well, should Sark get – I mean, it's one of those things. Should Sark pull a day and hand over play calling like Ryan Day did to Chip Kelly? That's a thought process. No QB sneak, and they run a toss over. It's overthinking, man. That's from Nick V. Cameron Sark's a great play designer, but he's a shaky play caller. Needs to find an OC in the offseason. There are a number of questions like that. Rod or Brian, do either of you guys have a thought on whether or not that's something that Sark needs to look at, or do you want him calling the plays? Because, I mean, look, y'all can say what you want, but Texas has been pretty dang successful. I don't know how much you want to mess with success. They've been in the national semifinals 2 years in a row. How much do you really want to tinker? I mean, that's
here's my deal, Bobby. And listen, we're supposed to do this on the show, right? But at the same time, like, you can't question everything the guy does, you know. And the thing I'm going with that is, as a play caller, as a head coach, you're going to make some mistakes. I mean, that's part of growing as a man. That's part of growing as a human being. That's part of growing as a coach, right? You're going to make mistakes. No matter what it is that you do, it's how you learn from those mistakes. Does history repeat itself, right? And one thing we can say about Sark is anytime he has made a mistake like that, he's owned up to it, or he's addressed it, or he, just like tonight, said it. Hey, I did it. I thought this was an opportunity for us to score a touchdown. If it's blocked up, it's right. But here's my thought process. Here's what happened. And then he says, hey, we were at the 1 yard line. We couldn't score. We don't deserve to win the game. Right? And that's the truth. It's real. So the other problem you're going to have is if you start having this conversation about Sark and OC, they're going to have to really be on the same page, right? Because they're going to butt heads if they're not on the same page about how to call the offense. Now you create a bad environment between the coaches, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of give and take there. I'm like you, Bobby. There's a reason why Texas has been in this situation in the last 2 years. They just got to find a way to get over the hump. And I don't think taking the play calling away from Sark right now is the answer to that. I think it's critical situation. I think it's a mistake. I think those are the things that need to be addressed and shored up. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Fair enough. I think that's a good conversation there. Rod and Brian, we got some more super chats. That's from Justin Yarbrough. It was a dogfight and great season. Just didn't bounce our way. Thank you, Quinn. That's a classy post there. Thank you, Quinn. 3 years. Good job, buddy. And all of what you did for the Longhorns. It was not perfect, but I tell you what, it was some good football to watch and a lot of fun. These last 2 years have been a lot of fun following Longhorns. William Nice says something very similar. Great season. We will beat Ohio State in August. Here's the Arch era. Thank you, Quinn, for everything. Hook 'em. Also, Daniel Earp, this was a great season. Amazing show from our team today. This was a matchup of the 2 best teams in the nation. Could we celebrate and the team and their accomplishments? Absolutely. This one from Dean Lacey, heartbroken. Run Arch all 4 plays to score. That's one of those comments that we just talked about. What do you do, man? You just don't know. You don't know if he was injured. I felt like he looked a little dazed when he went back to the sideline after that hit. He fumbled. Now, it was after his knee went down, but it was really close.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really close. And I think you looked at him coming off the field. I thought he looked a little dazed. Alessandro Franco only had 3 bad weeks as a Texas fan. Super pumped for next season. I'll see y'all in Columbus. So true there. Thanks, Alessandro.
I love it.
This one from Total Archer. Let me hear someone defend Quinn now. He is not that guy. Can't audible and can't move in the pocket. Our defense had us in a position to win. Okay, so this one's one that we need to talk about. What do y'all think here? He is not the most mobile quarterback in college football. He self-sacked a couple times tonight. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But tell you what, 13-3 is pretty strong. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. And he can audible. Sark said that 4th and 13 call was an audible of sorts. Got the last or week and a half ago.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of the people that say, hey, Quinn's proved he can't do it, or that you need to defend him? Does anybody feel like they need to defend him? I guess is the question.
He won't be appreciated in his time. That's just the reality of it. They won't. The Longhorn fans won't, because Arch is coming next. All right, so because I played with a quarterback also who was not appreciated in his time. And I think afterwards, when Longhorn fans to look at the record books and then look back at this period, because I do think you are ascending, and they will look at this time span with Quinn as him as one of the guys that helped build it and bring Texas back to prominence. And I think there are some people now that appreciate Sims for that. Like, hey, he's one of the people that helped build it. And then we got up to B-Rob and VY and those guys. They finished the job, because it can't just happen in 1 year. I mean, every now and then it does. Cam Newton kind of did that Auburn, but usually there's going to be a crescendo. You're building up to this moment. We talked about that with Michigan last year with Jim Harbaugh. Remember, that guy took a pay cut. Everybody wanted him fired, and they ended up building up to it. Thank you, Colonel Stallions. But same thing with Ohio State. They're kind of building up to it right now. Now, Marcus Freeman may decide, hey, I'm that guy. I'm going to win it all. Who gives a damn? It's my time. But usually you're building up to that thing. And I think that's when we'll appreciate Quinn, that Quinn was one of the foundational pieces that helped start build this program back to championship prominence. So unfortunately, I think Sims now is getting a little bit of love, and it's 20 years later. So unfortunately, Quinn, it won't be anytime soon. But I guarantee you there will be a time when Longhorn fans will look back and go, man, you know what? We didn't appreciate Quinn enough. Quinn was he was a pretty good quarterback. Say, yeah, he was. Look at all the other quarterbacks around the country. And look, you got first world quarterback problems with Quinn. I don't like the way he moves in the pocket. Oh man, I wish he would. I wish he'd handle pressure a little bit better. Trust me, Quinn is still better than like 90% of the other quarterbacks out there in college football. But I understand the Longhorn fans' frustration with Quinn. I do get it. Because the expectations were so high, right? Recruiting, Miss Bobby, he was recruiting ranking in terms of he was like the highest graded quarterback in modern recruiting history coming out. So there were really high expectations for Quinn. And like I said, I played with another quarterback. Really high expectations. Number one quarterback in the country, son of a Super Bowl MVP. And everybody's thinking, okay, well, this guy definitely is gonna win a national championship, and then he's gonna be a Heisman finalist. And you start, having these lofty expectations for all these guys. And they got it for Arch right now. And Arch, I think he's got that capability to achieve all of those great things. But when you don't, Longhorn fans can be cruel. I love them. Yep. I love my Longhorn fans. But they can be cruel, and never to me. But I've seen the quarterback position, and I always say Ty Dodge said it. Basically said, "Man, I've been booed and cheered in the same game." That's how Longhorn fans are. They booed and cheered the same damn game. He said, "That's Longhorn fans. That if you don't want that, then don't play the position."
Yeah.
You get all the girls.
Don't be the DJ. If you can't, you play the rockin' songs and then you play the slow ballads and everybody boos you off the stage.
Exactly.
Right? Speaking of someone on a stage, our CJ Vogel joins us from, I believe, the floor of the AT&T Stadium. How you doing, CJ? Tough one for the Longhorns tonight.
Yeah, it sure was. And, I think it does pretty much encapsulate the career of Quinn Ewers, right? Is choppy. They found a rhythm, and then, you had the big ugly play that kind of ruined it at the end there. But it was frustrating, and I do think if Sarkeesian had the opportunity to do it again, he would do that goal line stage a little bit differently because I think he got some OU PTSD when he went jumbo, didn't get it the first time, and said, you know what, let's try to stretch this thing out. And, he said it. Trey Wisner said it. Texas didn't block it correctly, and evidently that's how it ended up falling for the Longhorns, but that's really tough, and that's a tough way for the players to lose it. To get a yard from tying the game up with 2 minutes to go, put your defense back on the field, who I thought played tremendously once again for the Longhorns, that's tough. I feel for them, and I do think that fourth down stand for the Longhorns offensively, that's going to be tough again, to sit here and kind of reconvene what we did a whole year ago. And against Washington, when you have 7 months to kind of figure out why you can't score in the red zone.
No.
Did somebody ask him about Arch not playing in that situation?
No. I'll be completely honest. It was not a very long press conference from Sarkeesian, and I don't think with Quinn sitting to his left, he was going to go too much into why he was not on the field with Quinn headed out the door to the NFL.
Yeah, Quinn, by the way, if you missed that in the pregame, Quinn telling ESPN that he's definitely headed he's not going to be at a college next year, most likely in the CJ, I got to ask you, buddy, anything else from that you saw or heard from the locker room post-game or down at the media press availability?
Yeah, really one of the big things from Steve Sarkeesian is, look, Texas clawed their way back into that game. I know it was only a 7-point deficit in that first half, but with the way that offense was looking, with the way Ohio State defensively was playing, it felt like a pretty tall hill to climb. And to get up 7-7 right before halftime, Sark said basically 2 plays were really what did it for the Longhorns. It was a 75-yard screen run, and then obviously it was the strip sack fumble recovery for a touchdown by Jack Sawyer. He said, look, 2 plays, really, that's what did it for the Longhorns. In Texas, they had the interception by David Benda, but they didn't have that splashy, big, game-changing play the way that Ohio State did. So it's unfortunate. One thing that Jahdae Barron, Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkeesian all mentioned, the program's going to be better off for this season. And I think Texas fans, back-to-back years of come up just a little bit short in the in the semifinal. It's tough. It's not what you want to hear right now, but it is the signs of a program getting to where they can consistently build and perform on. So it was something that was echoed by all 3. And Jahdae specifically said, Sark's changed his life. He's more than thankful for him, and everybody in that locker room feels the same way. So wanted to iterate that because that was something I took away from the press conference with the 3 of them.
CJ, anything from any of the other defensive players? I know you listened in on Anthony Hill. Was Pete Kwiatkowski? I mean, they held Jeremiah Smith to 1 catch for 3 yards. Anything else from the guys on defense and their performance?
Yeah, Anthony Hill credited Pete Kwiatkowski, and he said Texas has 2 elite cornerbacks. And that's a big reason why Jeremiah Smith only had 3 yards. Of course, remember where that catch came from, behind the line of scrimmage, away from the cornerbacks. Texas had a great game plan for him. You have to give and take with a guy like Jeremiah Smith. Maybe he took away a little bit from the middle of the field. That's where Texas got hurt a little bit in the pass game against Ohio State tonight. But, hey, if you're going to take away, the best wide receiver in college football to just 3 yards, I'd say you did a pretty good job. Barron Sorrell, again, I'm going to miss Barron Sorrell, and just speaking with him after games because, he said the number one thing he wants to be remembered for during his time at Texas is just putting in a better place than where it was. It was ugly a few times earlier in his career, and he thought about maybe leaving. He maybe thought about, is this the place for me? But he stayed the course, and he said, I hope to be remembered as a guy that kept the standard. And that's, kind of one of the final things that we've heard from Quinn Ewers, Jahdae. Anthony Hill spoke about his leadership that he hopes to take into 2025 as well. So it's encouraging, despite what happened just behind me a few moments ago.
All right, CJ, thank you so much for your reporting. We'll hear you tomorrow morning on Rapid Reactions. Appreciate you, buddy. You be safe out there. Head home. Weather, hopefully,
Thank you, guys.
okay for
Thanks,
you.
CJ.
Thank you very much, CJ. Appreciate you. Hey, before we get back to Super Chats, I want to say thank you once again to Flight, the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 grams of carbs. Flight's an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends over at Faust Distributing. CJ, guys, mentioned something that Brian Irwin, one of the coaches that does our lunch with the coach, former GA at Texas, former 2-time state winning high school coach at Lamarck, told me. He texted me this during the game. We are giving them the middle of the field, trying to prevent the over-the-top stuff. If offense can score, then we can stay with it. But offense has to keep us within striking distance. The overall game plan, that's how Brian deciphered this in the first quarter. So he wrote me that. Overall game plan, the defense did its job, and the offense kept it within striking distance until the fourth quarter. Right? I mean, y'all, if that's what he read out of the game plan,
it worked.
Texas did a pretty good job of mirroring or at least attempting to make that game plan work, Rod.
Yeah, they just had a couple of cracks in their, complimentary football, right? The 75-yard touchdown right before the half. That was one that you didn't plan on. You never really see plays like that against the Texas defense. And I think ultimately, like you said, they settled down after that first touchdown drive, and they continued to be stubborn about taking away Jeremiah Smith and keeping an umbrella over that defense and not giving up some of those chunk yardage plays. And really the only true drive that after they settled down the first drive they gave up was 12 plays, something like that. 12.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great drive by Ohio State. It really was. That was just that drive to put them to get that 21. That was really just an amazing drive. Great play calling, great adjustments, moving the pocket. They broke out the quarterback designed run game on that one. That one in Texas just got nothing over that. Hey, they won that. They won that sequence, right? They won that round, if you will, against Texas D. But I think taking away Jeremiah Smith, they were stubborn trying to get Jeremiah Smith the ball and couldn't. So I'm with you on that, man. I was really impressed with the Texas defensive game plan overall, and it just shows you that PK. We've seen this. He can take away your identity really well and force you to beat them a different way. You got to beat them with something you're uncomfortable with, and that's kind of what Ohio State had to do, and they're a good enough team, and they did it.
All right, we have some more super chats to get to here. This from Jeff Marr. Texas had a good season. Let the Arch era start. Thank you, Jeff. Eric Mitchell, want to address that our fans are literally insufferable when things are going negative. Turned into shredding the kids apart, mainly Quinn Ewers. In all 3 losses this season, the team failed together. Thanks for everything, 3. Brian, I see you shaking your head. Yes. What do you have to say about that? Because you've been a part of a lot of teams. This is certainly a team. One of the great things about football, it is, in my opinion, the ultimate team sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rod just said it perfectly a while ago. Complementary football, right? It works hand in hand. When you look at it, special teams has to be hitting on all cylinders. Defense got to be hitting on cylinders. And offense got to be hitting on all cylinders. And to this point, I don't think we ever saw that out of this Texas football team. I don't think there's one game we can look at this year and say that they played the perfect game or they played to their full potential. I don't think we ever saw that. And that I'm not going to say that's disturbing, but it's disappointing because you wanted to, as much talent as this team had, you wanted to see that. And if there ever was a night for it to happen, it would have been tonight. I think there's a play that's really going to be kind of overlooked, but could have made all the difference in this game. And that was David Benda getting that interception, right?
Yep.
And Texas not being able to capitalize on that. It resulted in nothing. Literally nothing happened from that interception. There's nothing more deflating than when you get a big time turnover and you can't turn that into points. Even if it's just 3 points, you got to turn it into some sort of point. All right. So back to the original question. And Rod mentioned a lot of this later, so I'm not going to keep pounding it in people's heads or anything like that. But to me, this is the Dallas Cowboys effect. Texas football, Dallas Cowboys, it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Here's where Quinn Ewers is at. Problem is the expectations is way up here. Way up here where you can't even see them. They're not even realistic, okay? Quinn played amazing in his career. If you look at his career at Texas, you put him in any other uniform, and fans are going to be thrilled that they had this quarterback at their college, okay? But this is the University of Texas, right? And you went through the whole deal with Chris Sims. You went through Major Applewhite, that whole deal, right? And I kind of look at this as like the same deal. Like there's people out there that want Arch. There's people that want Quinn. When Quinn does wrong, well, it's put in Arch. When Arch does wrong, it's why are you messing with Quinn? Like the problem with this is the expectations as a Texas quarterback is you win national championship, you go undefeated, and you'll be praised. Anything less than that, there's going to be doubters. There's going to be people saying you shouldn't be the guy, anything like that. Quinn did a good enough job for this team to win tonight. Okay, this does not fall on Quinn's shoulders. Was it perfect? No. Did he make mistakes? Yes. But Quinn was a good enough quarterback tonight to win that ball game. It goes back to what me and Rob been saying, and you too, Bobby. This came down to 1st and goal on the 1 yard line. That's why you lost the game. This came down to a sack fumble that they took to it for a touchdown. All right, that's what this ball game came down to. It wasn't Quinn.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, we got to get to a bunch of super chats here. We'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. Some folks are venting, and that's okay. At some point, we have to stop calling Sark an offensive guru after a script he has done, and he struggles to adjust, super bland and ineffective. I think that you could say that, but they also moved the ball down to the 1 yard line against the number 1 defense in the country with the last drive of the season, essentially. Robbie, I think that you got to take the good with the bad. No play caller is perfect. We've seen that through the years. Tyler Lorenz, great season, bad ending. Glad it happened, but sad it's over. The future is bright. Make sure to show love to all the players who brought us back. Hook them forever, y'all. Thanks, Tyler. Larry Hansen, now that the season has come to an end, just want to say thank you and congrats, fellas. Rod B, bro, miss you in the mornings. Can't wait to see y'all where y'all take this channel in the future. Hook them. This one from Jeff Carey. Thank you, by the way, Larry. Bobby and Rod have been bitching about the third quarter all season. We finally won the third quarter. Great season, great effort against a great team. Still disappointed. They did win the third quarter, Rod and Brian. 7
But we lost the first.
What did you say?
But we lost the first.
Yeah, but we lost the first instead. That's exactly right. MP Houston, pay whatever it takes to keep Sark, PK, and Nansen. We are clearly headed in the right direction. Proud of this program. Thank you, OTF. I agree with that. They are absolutely headed in the right direction, no doubt about it. OTF, fellas, this one from Eric Mitchell. Thank y'all for everything. Best in the business. Rod B, Bobby, Matthew, CJ, Blake, Brian, Coach Irwin, and Coach Shipley. We couldn't keep you up with our love for the Longhorns. Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate it very, very much. All right, got another one for you guys real quick. Chris Jackson, compare Sark and Lincoln Riley. I don't know. Rod may have a little bit of a internet connection problem right now. Brian, what do you think? Compare Sark and Lincoln Riley. That's a good question in some ways. What do you think, bud?
Sark's made 2 playoff appearances. Lincoln Riley has not.
Yeah. He made one I think he made one like his first year at OU.
Nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that.
Nobody remembers that.
No, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, to me, they're in 2 different places, right? I see an ascending program with Sark, and I'm not seeing that with Lincoln Riley right now, right? So you look at USC, they finished 7-6 this year.
Yep.
Something like that. I mean, hey, that's nothing against Lincoln Riley, but I just think they're in two different avenues right now as far as their coaching careers.
I agree. They're headed slightly different directions, at least. I think is the best way to put it. Edward Kojecki says, thank you to David Benda. Could not agree more. Edward, thanks for that because he deserves a hand clap. Baron Sorrell did not just keep the standard, he raised it. Completely agree. Game in, game out, year in, year out. Absolutely crucial to where we are today. I have to agree with that, man. That's just a tremendous career as a Longhorn. I remember him coming in, Brian, as a long, gangly, 235-pound defensive end. And I'm like, what are they going to do with this guy? You know, now he's been here 4 years, and he is a guy that has literally looked different physically each and every year he's been a Longhorn.
I'll even say this, Bobby. He has grown and matured so much as a player. I can remember early when I was with Longhorn Network doing some stuff there, and I was very critical of him. I thought he made some, whether it was youth or whatever you want to call it, I thought he made some critical mistakes. The one that always sticks out in my mind is the long run against Alabama when they played him at home in Texas, and he dips inside, and there was just no reason for it. And to see him from that point of where he was in his career to where he's at now, being probably one of the most reliable players on that defense, kudos to him, man. I mean, and I say this all the time, like, our job as analysts is to pick people apart. It's to be critical and things like that. But you also eat your own words. You eat crow whenever you're wrong. And I'm not going to say I was wrong, but the things I said about him, I can't even say now because of that's how much he has matured as a player. And so, yeah, my whole point to this is hats off to Barron Surreal. I agree with that comment wholeheartedly. Like, he raised the standard in the time that he was here, and he should be very proud of the player he has become at the University of Texas.
All right, we got to keep this going here a little bit. I'm trying to get back to where I've left off here. This reminds me of Michigan. We talked about this from Juan Garza earlier. Lost in the semis twice, third time won it all. Arch Manning era begins. This one from Jay Smith. Blaming the RBs after this game is crazy. All Sark. I'm not blaming. I want to be clear. I'm not blaming the RBs for this loss. I will say Sark likely has more confidence running up the middle if it's a guy that's 225 pounds like Cedric Baxter. We all know that that's not who Jaden Blue or Trey Wisner are. That's all I'm saying, guys. I'm not trying to be critical of any of the running backs tonight at all. T-Live, Golan Stan reminded me of Lamar versus Madison sophomore year. There you go, T-Live. David Barrett, was Wingo grabbed third and goal? It seemed so, and they never replayed it. That was that ball that Quinn went to the short side of the field on a comeback route. It looked like it to me, David, but we couldn't see it either from my vantage point on the television either. But play G, you have to let your players decide the game. Players over plays. You tried one time and then back down. Football is simple. Don't overcoach yourself. And Brian, that's the one I think I can see it thinking it in your head a little bit. It almost looks like it. That's the comment that resonates with you. You tried one time and you back down. You agree with that?
I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I said it 2 or 3 times in this deal. If you got 4 downs to get it done at the 1 yard line, you give them 4 shots. Just run downhill, run right at them and say, my guys are better and more physical than your guys. And if you beat me and you stop us on 4 downs, hey, hats off to you.
Yep, I agree. That you have to. It's like Texas versus Texas A&M. A&M challenged their guys, and Texas stood up.
Yeah,
that's just the nature of the beast. And I think that's what we gotta watch for. Renegade casuals will blame it on Quinn. Don't want to see anybody trashing our players on social media. They did nothing. They know what they did wrong. Even Cam. Fight. Look, my take on that is anybody that's doing that on social media anyways, there's no place for it. There's no value in that, in my opinion. There's this one from Dante. This is a good question in some regards because I think we all want to know a little bit of it. Why put Arch in on 4th and 2, but not 1st and goal? I hate it for the defense. My question to you, Brian, is it possible that was the play he had dialed up for Arch Manning, maybe on 4th and short, and didn't have another one really dialed up in the playbook for him? Or was it possible that Arch was maybe a little dazed, I guess, the best way to put it? Your thoughts on that?
I mean, we'll never know until Sark comes out and says it. But, yeah, I mean, if he was healthy, yeah, why not? Why not throw him in there? I also think there's a part of me that thinks you didn't really need that either. Just run at them. Run at them with Jarrett Gibson. Run at them with Trey Wisner. Just pound them. You had been able to get some sort of movement. There was times and momentum changes where they were able to establish the run game, and it was just about being downhill runs at them. So if Arch was healthy, then yeah, why not? Why not put him in there? Maybe quarterback sneak it. I mean, I don't know, but we'll never know. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't matter now. It's over.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to read some of these because we need to. A lot of people putting in thanks to the players. Franco Lopez, Texas Longhorn fans wish Quinn Ewers the best. Texas is reloading. Texas is back. Sucks to lose like we did today, but this is better than playing in the Alamo Bowl. Brian, you've played in an Alamo Bowl. You would agree, right?
There's nothing wrong with the Alamo Bowl, guys. I mean, it's an amazing bowl. If you haven't tried it, you should try it sometime. Texas has done it a lot.
All right, Jordan Barker. Thank you guys so much. Love y'all. It's been a hard year, and I'm glad to get to listen to you guys while I'm at work. I'm glad to be a Longhorn fan. Can't wait until next year and the off season. Some recruiting and portal news coming up this pretty quick here. By the way, Texas is expected to have an official visitor in over the weekend, an offensive lineman, Brian, from USC. Mando, why weren't these expectations in place for David Ash, Case McCoy, Tyrone Swoop, Sam Ellinger, Hudson Card? Why just Quinn? And this is a recruiting rhetorical question, right? Because the only people that put him up on a pedestal were recruiting services. And so he didn't put himself up there, right? He did it, and he was just a normal old guy. And then recruiting came along and ranked him up there. Those other guys weren't even top 100 players in the country.
And I want to say this too.
What's that?
Yeah, I agree 100% because here's the deal. You hit the nail on the head. When you become a high recruit out of high school, the expectations are already up here. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you think the high expectations were for Quinn, imagine what they are for Arch going into next year.
Ooh. Anything less than a national semifinal is the expectation, is it not?
If he loses to Ohio State first game next year,
Trey Owens.
People want him to be benched.
They'll be calling for Trey Owens. Hey, Clint Barros became a fan in 2010. Just want us to see us in a championship. That was the most painful loss I've experienced. Quinn was outstanding, despite the hate. That flip, by the way, to Trey Wisner is something that Quinn hasn't done much at all during his career, and it was nice to see him make a play kind of off schedule, right?
Yep.
He's thrown some of the backs off schedule, but that was really nice to see. Nice thought there, Clint. Appreciate you saying that. Mobile QB, crucial going forward. Scott Sturgeon, do y'all think that now that you can look in the rearview mirror of Quinn, you think that Sark with a mobile QB might change him up a little bit? Not that he's going to focus on the run, but it's something that he can dabble in a little bit. Do you think, Brian, you're a pass rusher. Rod, you're a DB. You're the one that has to cover the extra 2 or 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
How big is a mobile QB and what it might mean to this Texas offense next season?
Oh, it can be a great equalizer. I mean, Texas got beat by a mobile backup quarterback this year. That's how good, right? That's how much of an advantage you get with a +1 in the running game. I think quarterbacks are becoming more and more athletic. I call it the quarterback renaissance. Now you have some of the best athletes on the team playing quarterback. So I don't think the statuesque quarterbacks of old, I don't know if you'll find many of those quarterbacks going forward. Now, almost every quarterback has functional mobility. Even Quinn's got functional mobility. And then aside from that, you have guys who can actually make off-schedule plays and improvise and be straight up dual threat quarterback. So I think Sark's tapping into the kind of the growing evolution of the quarterback position. But I think he also understands, even though he always says we don't major in quarterback run game. I'm with you. I think now they're going to minor in it with Arch. Yeah.
There's something to that. There's definitely something to it. What about you, Brian? I mean, you've been a guy that gets after the quarterback. You think that's going to be something that teams are going to have to prep for next year with Arch?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even when you look at tonight's game, the edge rushers for Ohio State were able to get up the field and come back downhill. If you've got a mobile quarterback, you can't do that. You've got to power down. You've got to collapse the pocket. You've got to rush totally different with a mobile quarterback than you do a guy who's kind of just in the pocket, kind of moves around, kind of navigates that way. The other thing is the running game dynamically changes, because now you've got to be conscious of two guys, not just one guy. And that goes hand in hand, because that alleviates some pressure off of the running back as well as the quarterback. So, I think when you look at it, I think, and that was going to be another part, like you said with Rod, covering a guy for the next 2 or 3 seconds. The guy may not always be running around to run. I mean, mobile quarterback doesn't mean you got to run all the time. But if you escape the pocket, now you give the illusion that the run threat is there, and DB's got to make a decision. Do I plaster to this guy, or do I come downhill and try to be run support on the quarterback? So that adds a whole new element to the game as well. So I do think that that's going to help this offense out next year for sure.
Against RB says against good defensive fronts, Texas offensive line got blown up this season. No real run game against UGA twice, ASU, and now Ohio State. Kyle Flood need to go. I think talking about Kyle Flood needing to go is kind of preposterous. I'm going to be honest with that. But it looked like to me, Texas actually ran the ball at times decently. They were getting 2 and 3 and 4 yards a chunk when running it most of the time tonight. They didn't get it. They didn't break off a big run, just like they didn't against Arizona State. Arizona State, I thought, handled Texas' run game better than Ohio State did. I'll put it that way. But I don't look. Texas played other good defensive fronts. They played against Michigan and did well. There are other. A&M had a good defensive front this year. Texas ran it up and down the field on them. Clemson had a good defensive front. Sometimes teams just get used to what you got. And when you don't have an inside run game, maybe because you don't have that big back, it can get a little dicey. Jordan Bonner going into offseason, I think Texas needs to put more emphasis on their ability to play man. Secondary gets very grabby. We need to learn to be more sneaky about it like other teams, Ohio State and Michigan. There is some truth to this, Rod, because, man, they don't call defensive holding as much as they should. They don't call pass interference probably as much as they should. The NFL much more in tune with that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they called the 2-on-2 PIs on Ohio State. I think Texas, to the first part of that super chat, they do want to play more man. Right? This year they're 17% man rate. They want to play a little bit more man than that. And I think that's one of the things that Sark has talked about. They want to play more, I think, bump and run too. They want to play more press man if possible. That's why they're bringing in the types of athletes in the back end, the last couple of recruiting classes that they brought in. I think that's the next evolution for the defense. But in terms of PIs, I always loved what the Legion of Boom, their strategy on PIs. They are basically Richard Sherman and those guys. They believed, you know what, they're not going to call it on every play. You're going to call it every now and then, but you ain't going to call it on every play. I dare you to call it on every play. You won't. And so they always kind of err on the side of, I'm going to be grabby. And the ref's going to call it. Every now and then he's going to call it, but he ain't going to call it every play. And I'll win more times than not if I'm a little grabby. You got to be, it's like offensive lineman. You got to be a little savvy about it. You can't be, these guys who are just grabbing arms, outstretched, grabbing jersey. Those guys don't know how to, you don't know how to defend. You got to be savvy about that. If you're going to grab, you got to make sure it's within, kind of within your frame. You can't be doing it all outside the frame. And I think that's what Muhammad did a great job of it. They ran a slant route, and he was covering it, and you see him go behind the guy and grab the guy's hips, then propel himself forward. You saw that? Sad. Yeah. He wasn't on there for long, but it don't take long. It takes a little bit to influence that route, and that's what I'm talking about. You just got to be more savvy about it, man. They're too obvious with it sometimes. So I'd be savvy about it.
Tito Enrique here. Team sport. We win as a team and we lose as a team. Great season, and appreciate all these kids for their dedication and passion. Was it not entertaining? Yes, I was absolutely entertained. I think thousands of Texas fans were as well. Tubin Texans with the super chat. I do not have your question with that. Sorry about that. Daniel Clark, Texas 3 plays for the national championship game, a screen pass first and goal at the 1 and a strip sack 6. I agree with a little bit of that. Wooderson, props to Bobby for staying strong on Quinn and NFL and quieting rumors. Thank you and good luck to Quinn. Not even joy mode can make you feel better tonight. Want to thank William Roosevelt. Want to thank all you for all we do. Everybody is Andy Reid after the game. Thank you for everything, Quinn. That is so true. Everybody has got all the answers in the hindsight, right? And that's what we got to break down here and try to think about it. Look, we have, I guess, a couple other things to ask or whatever. Hell of a season from Taylor Johnson. Why do we not spread out at the goal line? Rod and Brian, either of y'all have an answer for that one?
I think they did later. They spread them out just a little bit instead of having like the power sets. But you're right. I mean, that's why the Arch package is what people are clamoring for, because you spread them out. And like Brian says, then they got to defend the quarterback run game, the +1 with the run back to the backfield. It's almost no way you're going to stop me from getting a yard with that on the goal line, unless I screw it up somehow. Right? Because you have to be light in the box. If you don't defend out there, well, hell, I'm just going to throw it to Matthew Golden outside. Or I'm going to throw it to Ryan Wingo outside. So I actually prefer spread sets on the goal line, unless you just Jim Harbaugh and you just going to play bully ball and run it downhill. I prefer to spread out a little bit. We still going to run right at you, but I'm going to do it against a lighter box.
Leave alone. Why is no one talking about Bond looking like he was trying to catch a rabid cat on third down? Hadn't heard that one before, Lee. He killed the drive. He did that. That's an interesting way to put it, Lee, because that's somewhat what it looked like. It did kill a drive in the first half. Did not see much of Isaiah Bond at all. In the second half, they went with Silas Bolden and Ryan Wingo almost full time instead. William Rosenthal, would you have liked to see Sark take a little more accountability in the post-game press conference, or okay with what he said? I will say this. We have not been able to see and view all of that, right, Brian and Rod? So I was totally okay. Brian, were you okay with what he said in the post-game press conference? I mean, it felt like it was honest at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. I don't think he laid the blame on anybody. I mean, he just stated the fact that the play call he made, the reason why he made it, he made the statement that it didn't get blocked up right, which that's obvious. But other than that, he just said, from the 1 yard line, if we can't get it in the 1 yard line, no matter what, we don't deserve to win. And I don't have anything. I don't feel. I mean, Rod, I don't know if you heard something different I did, but I didn't feel like he laid the blame on anybody else. He just stated the fact.
Yep, I think Sark, if there is, I don't know if there will be another availability for a long time, but Sark, for the most part, has been accountable usually in post games. Like, I don't see him very confrontational, and he doesn't seem like, to me, like he's very standoffish. Like, he takes accountability for it, and that's one of the things I like about Sark, that he will admit to being off a little bit.
Yeah. All right, guys. I will say this real quick to y'all. The post-game press conference is now up on Texas Football. You can watch that with Steve Sarkeesian, John A. Barron, Quinn Ewers as well. Matt, our producer, has put that up. That's going to do it for our post-game tonight. We've got more. Jordan Baker, Barker, I'll get to your super chat the next time we have an opportunity, asking about Quinn stepping up in the pocket. But we got to get going tonight. Thanks again to our sponsor all season long. That has been our friends over at Flight, the next generation of light beer with just 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste than just 4.2 grams of carbs. Flight's an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. I think I'm getting ready to go have one after this season is now complete. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing. And thank you to Brian Robison and Rod Babers for being with us all season long on this postgame. Brian, it's been a pleasure, bud. Rod's internet going in and out tonight, but thank you to him as well. You guys are two proud Texas Longhorns, yet you're honest and fair. And I think that a lot of Texas fans more educated because of it. Appreciate you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it.
All right. You guys have a good one. Texas goes down in the national semifinal, 28-14. For Rod B, Brian, I'm Bobby Burton, as well as our producer, Matt Hudson. Hook 'em, guys.